So the contents of this talk, ooh, yeah, I'm going to be talking about the current problem. And I say put problem in quotes because it's not really an issue, but I mean, nothing's ever an issue until you find a solution for it. Solutions in progress as well as what is next. So the current problem, as I see it, is we have a lot of devices for everything. We have so many devices for everything. It's just a lot. And what I find interesting is in the example of kind of like iOS and OS 10, they actually share the same code base, but they're separate operating systems, same as Windows Phone and Windows operating systems, Microsoft, something, whatever. Um, So I'm thinking it would be pretty awesome if you actually had the same code base and the same operating system. Obviously, there are caveats to this, such as battery life, resource management, and things like that. So one of the first, I guess, probably the best example of this is from Ubuntu. They came out with this thing called Ubuntu Edge. Well, they announced it. Didn't really come out. They had an Indiegogo campaign that didn't get funded, but they did get $2 million in the process. I don't know what they're doing with that, but they called theirs Convergence. And I'm going to demo it. Uh, uh, there we go. Oh,
for this demo, we're using AOSP and we'll run our existing Ubuntu for Android environment. I'll pair the phone with a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, open the U4A control app, and connect to a standard monitor via HDMI. That launches Ubuntu on the Android phone, running alongside Android and sharing specific files and data. Yes, what you're seeing here is the Ubuntu desktop. Not a cut-down version of Ubuntu, but the full native OS. The same OS that's run by millions of people every day, and it's running directly from the phone hardware. The phone is the PC. You have full integration between the phone and desktop interfaces, so you can access content from one on the other. The People lens on the desktop shows the Android phone's address book. The Music lens contains the same tracks I listen to on the phone. I'll be able to start an album while I work on the desktop, undock, and then finish it on the move. We've adapted the desktop with plenty of Android service integration. I can use the dialer from the desktop to make and receive calls and text messages via the phone. The Thunderbird email application is integrated with the smartphone email client. I can even use both environments at the same time. It's the same rich experience as Ubuntu on a desktop PC, but it's all running from the phone. True device convergence in action.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And like I said, this is the best concept thus far of kind of the same code base, same operating system, one device, but all you have to do is just dock it and then it just shows up working as, as expected. The cons of this is obviously you are limited by the mobile device storage and the processor. So, I mean, that's for most people that wouldn't really be an issue. For all of us, it would be a huge issue because we wouldn't be able to work on that. But I feel like Grandma would not have a problem. She would just be awesome. And another issue is how do you attach more devices to this? A lot of us have external hard drives and just other peripherals, and there's none of that is taken into account with this particular concept. I have an idea for a concept. You just have just I guess like a new dock itself. Maybe it's connected to the base of the monitor, and that just has like tons of expandable memory and things like that, ports. But I mean, I don't make hardware, so I can't do that. But that would be a possible solution for this if Ubuntu ever wanted to get back into this. So yeah, same code base, same operating system. Apple, on the other hand, like I mentioned, they have the same code base for their mobile and desktop platforms, but they are different operating systems. But they are most likely to deliver on this convergence that Ubuntu is talking about, simply because they control their ecosystem, they control the hardware and the software. And they are taking baby steps in what they are calling continuity, also known as handoff. because apparently people don't like syllables. I mean, probably their marketing team. So continuity or handoff, if you don't know it already, is it allows you to do basically what was shown in the Ubuntu video, which is where you can just like type an email on your phone. If you're near your computer, you can pick off there and vice versa. And obviously this works across their flagship iOS devices. They'll probably allow developers to integrate that into their own apps. And this obviously requires an iCloud account. Again, they have their whole ecosystem wrapped into that. So their convergence will, I feel like it'll happen maybe like 5-10 years. Not 5, maybe 10 years. So the other part of this is Google Apps. It's built for all operating systems. It's not contained or restricted to just one OS, which is great for Google because they just want this stuff everywhere. And Google Apps is so great that it's widely considered to be better than iWork and Microsoft Office. And it's so great that Apple now offers iWork for free. I'd just like to reiterate that it's much better than Microsoft Office. But this is just a very good example of how things that were made strictly for operating systems are now breaking out of operating systems, becoming web-based, and there's really no need to have an OS for productivity things. So what is next? iOS and OS X are converging style-wise. I just realized converging and convergence is really together. That was unintended. But the new desktop OS Yosemite is looking a lot like iOS 8 now. So I have a feeling like there's going to be a lot of cohesion in the future as they grow. And there are also efforts by some browser vendors.
Whoops. Excuse us, sorry.
Welcome. So Google has something called Chromium OS. It is the base of Chrome OS. And it is it's their open source operating system. Firefox OS also exists. It's not very good, but it works on mobile phones. That's their kind of OS, built on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all that good stuff, as well as low-level Linux APIs for hardware connectivity and whatnot. And then there's also open source, which I like to call the other OS, because a lot of cool things are happening in regards to taking traditional things in operating systems, making them or replicating functionality in web technologies we already use. And there's also Hikari, which is my own project. That is what I'm calling a responsive operating system. Needs a lot more work, but I think it's on the right track. It's pretty awesome. And I would like to demo it. Okay. So, I'll just put this over here. This is how you run it. And then,
Excuse me, just lost. I'm not going that way. I'm going this way.
awesome. It's fantastic. So, whoa. This is also, I'm going to run this inside of my browser too. What the okay.
Live coding.
Node.js is always messing things up. Whatever, I'm going to run this over again. I don't know, maybe it's like, I don't like this thing. Where is it? Okay. Can I do it on just this screen? I'm trying to move this window. What's happening? How come I can't do that? Okay. Whatever. Actually, that's not going to help. Okay, hold on. Just going to mirror displays because that would be easier.
You may have to unshare your desktop on the Hangout and then reshare afterwards.
Okay. No more screen sharing. So what else do I have to do?
Now you can unmirror, you can mirror your displays, and then you'll have to reshare your desktop.
Okay. Oh, yep. I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay, cool. All right, this will have to.
And then just share your desktop.
Yep.
You can do desktop.
Okay, is this. Now the siphon's all off. Start from scratch. There we go, full screen. Some things might. Oh, wow. Okay. So I didn't test for a small screen size, clearly. But the idea with this is this GIF you have, it's also very slow on a Retina display. I started making this on a PC, which does not have Retina display, so it's like that image is slowing everything down. But the idea of this particular screen is the login screen. The animation you see is going to like dynamically update on just like your current location, what the weather is going to look like, and cool stuff. And I also have OAuth with GitHub because that's the only one I implemented. What? That was already. Okay, I don't remember my GitHub password. I have OAuth. Ah, exclamation point. I don't know my password.
Say 12 exclamation points, right?
Yep. What the hell, Mike? 6, 4. What? What the hell? Okay. Yay. All right. Thank you. So this is taking my Facebook avatar. It's cool functionality right here. And I also have this little cool stuff flying out. In case you want to see that again. Right click menu does this.
Does it support IE8?
Nope.
No.
None IE is no. None.
Are you using a canvas, or are you just actually doing divs and just like CSS3 transforms and stuff?
I'm doing everything that looks cool.
Everything that looks cool.
Yeah, CSS3, JavaScript. I'm using basically, yeah, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Not really using Canvas too much.
Okay.
I thought I had something else plugged in here, but yes, I actually have not developed this as much because I've been working on the browser itself thus far. with the idea that basically it's kind of like how Apple did it, whereas they had like their OS and everything, and no one cared about it really, but then they offered like the iPod and things like that to try to get people used to that, and like, hey, come into that ecosystem. So that's what I'm doing with this. But right now, this started off as just like a fan project to like this video game called Mega Man Battle Network that I really like. I was like, I'm gonna make that real. But then it turned into become this serious thing. I actually went to college for software engineering with the purpose of like focus of creating an operating system. And now I actually get to do that. And see, it really works. It's a real browser.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
What are you running the browser in?
I am using Node WebKit and then just HTML, CSS, JavaScript as before. So yes, I feel that operating systems are going to become more and more in the cloud, as they say. I don't really like the cloud as a thing. It doesn't make any sense. It's really on a server. But yeah, I feel like that's where things are heading, and hopefully I can get people to use this. Maybe not this right here. This is weird game stuff. But a developer from Africa actually contacted me a few months ago and was very, very interested in this, in like turning Hikari into like an offline web sort of thing, because, well, I mean, as you can probably expect, internet is not widespread in Africa, maybe South Africa. That's the nicest part, I guess, but for everywhere else, it's not that widespread. And so once I get things in here like just like writing apps and things like that, this would be more of a like real thing to use. Really though, I'm just, if I want to get this to a point where I can use this, well, not work, but if I can just use this on like vacation or whatever, I'll be fine. That's when this will be like 1.0. But yes, that is
So theory
my
that,
talk.
that someone could just like they essentially write everything for that operating system through the same technologies we're writing for the web.
Right. And then you could just like, actually I should think of like a package manager of some sort, but yeah, it was basically be something like that. And I also intend to just run it off of Linux, just have like really base, just like Linux to boot it, and then it'll just be its own contained thing. And eventually hardware to take advantage of this. Yeah, that's it.
Bad question.
You there.
So Windows came up with like Windows 8 and comes from like the Surface, bringing together mobile and traditional computing.
Yep.
Is that just, I mean, now they're like going back from that, you know, I think the next iteration of Windows is like an old start screen, start
Yep.
menu stuff. Does that speak to the problem with convergence, or is that just a problem with Microsoft?
I think that's just a problem with Microsoft. Like what they messed up with is like they tried to force it onto people who are already used to the regular way we've been using computers for a very long time. You can't just make that type of change happen overnight, which is where I think they messed up with. Now, if they offered that as like a next flavor of Windows that gives people the choice, then yeah, I feel like they could still be going on that branch while letting everyone else who still want the start menu and whatnot to just use that.
Have you submitted that OS to like any conference talks or anything like that?
Nope.
You should do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I want more work being put into it first.
It will never be done.
Oh, I know. I know, but just like simple things that it just irk me that I know aren't in there, like just
You can start it,
minimizing to a taskbar.
You can start like the Boston front-end developers meetup. You don't have to do a conference talk. I think generally any open source project is going to majorly benefit from other people wanting to contribute to it. So like the amount of work you probably have in your head will take forever to complete, and just getting some other interested and like-minded people on the project will really help you accelerate it.
That makes sense,
The only way
actually.
to do that is to let people know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea how the developer who contacted me found out about it, because I don't really publicize. I do have a Twitter account for it, but it's barely updated.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
But yeah, that's a good point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. It's very warm over here.
Very warm over here. You can tell the eyeballs on you. Back down.
You're live, raw, man. I don't care.
God help us. At least I'm sharing my screen. All right, are we ready? Can everyone hear me? Is it possible for anyone to not hear me? Yes, I can get louder. Just let me know. Also, as a general rule, I do way better with heckling, so feel free. I basically I'm doing a talk down in New York, Ember Meetup next Thursday. So I basically am just going to run through the bullet points and ideas and concepts I'm going to run over in the talk. So get some feedback on different things to focus on. The idea is with Ember CLI, which is the framework we're using to build out new Ember apps, and we're actively developing on it and making it better and whatnot. We recently have the ability to create add-ons that can be consumed by other Ember apps that use Ember CLI also to build very, very simply. So it's becoming similar in concept to what people in the Ruby world have been using Ruby gems for, to distribute easily consumable packages that they can just like drop into like a Rails app or a running application. So that's not to say that it competes with something like Ruby Gems or NPM or Bower or those sort of distribution mechanisms. It just consumes them and makes things available to the Ember CLI build pipeline so that the assets end up in the browser the right way and compiled and all that stuff and ready to go. So there's a whole bunch of hooks and internal details about how add-ons actually work and the different things you can interact with. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of go through what most of them are and try to explain them. Hopefully I can explain them. Between Brian and I, we probably wrote most of them, so we ought to be able to figure it out. So the first one is how an add-on is identified. So Ember CLI is a JavaScript package distributed via NPM. You install Ember CLI as a global package, and then you say Ember new my project, and it'll create a new folder structure for you. And in that folder structure, it has a sort of a dependency file, package.json file. That package.json file contains all of the other dependencies that you have. So what Ember CLI does is when the app is booted, either it's building or you're running commands or different things like that, it's actually going to scan the package list, figure out which of those packages themselves are Ember add-ons, and it does that by checking a keyword in the package. So it would basically look like this guy. So say you have a package, your add-on has a package, it's got a name, and it's got just this keyword thing. That keyword's value of Ember add-on is what tips Ember CLI off to say, hey, this thing is an Ember CLI add-on. That's really all there is to that part of it. It's very, very straightforward. There's a whole bunch of other configuration parameters like this before flag that basically help Ember CLI determine the order. So if it's loading all these add-ons and your add-on might modify some other add-on, or it might need to be run before some other thing, you obviously have to be able to say what order those things are loaded in. So you can do this by way of before and after arguments here in the package.json. So here I'm saying run this thing before the proxy server middleware, which is an internal thing. You could also have an array of before items, or you can also have after. So if you need to run between two things, or you need to ensure that it runs after a given thing. For example, if you're modifying this proxy server middleware, in this case I'm saying do it before, but you might also want to process something, its output, so you might want to do something after it. So that's how the discovery and ordering stuff, it's really very simple, like the internals of how it actually works. A lot of people, it seems sort of magical, but really we're just reading a text file, scanning the items in it, and then looking at the dependencies and seeing who self-identifies as an Ember add-on. That's basically all it's doing. All right, so the next thing is an add-on can have a bunch of different hooks, different methods that it can implement that mean special things to Ember CLI. So I'm going to go through the build-related hooks first, but then there's a whole bunch after that as well. So as far as build hooks, when I say hook, what I basically mean is just a method that gets called during a given part of the build process. So say your add-on wants to augment the things loaded. Say, for example, I have an add-on that adds waypoint support for an Ember app. So you can determine if you've scrolled past a certain point, or things like that, like show a little, make your header sticky to the top, or things like that, right? And it just uses jQuery waypoints, which is a really good library that does this already. But how do I get that into a consuming Ember app without making that person do a bunch of crap? Previously, you'd have to copy-paste all the files, and you'd have to manually wire it up, and that was very, very annoying. So with the add-on, what I can do is I can have there's a tree for method, and during the Ember CLI build process, it's going to say, hey, give me the tree, which is just a directory of files. Give me the tree for public, the public folder. Give me the tree for the vendor folder. Give me the tree for all these things: app, add-on, styles, templates, all those guys. So the basic, what that does is that basically adds additional output files in the dist that's generated. A great example of like using public would be like, say you want to have you want to provide font files or something. You don't want your consuming application to have to like go download all the stuff. You just say, hey, npm install this thing, and boom, it just works. That's the kind of thing that's possible here. So just to go over a little bit of the trees, a tree is sort of a broccoli term. That's the build tool that's used internally in Ember. But the easiest way to think of it is just directories of files. So in this case, you have vendor, which would be something that you're bringing in externally. You have app. The app tree is interesting because it will be merged with the consuming application. So if you want to provide templates that the application can override, or like initializers that run when that boots, things like that, that would be how you do all that stuff. The add-on tree has some special treatment, and it also has its own sub-styles and templates directories, but that's sort of out of scope for this talk. Obviously, styles is where you're going to return the CSS or SAS or whichever preprocessed styles that you're going to use. The add-on has its own. The add-on styles are basically merged with the consuming app. So on the styles front, it's actually possible to clobber things. So you got to be sort of careful how you do things there. As far as templates go, any templates you return or components you return from app, the consuming application has the ability to override them. So like if you wanted to give a nice default template and someone doesn't like the way you did your form, or they want to have custom classes or something like that, all they have to do is implement that template with the same name, and boom, they've overridden it, and it'll be used by the component, which is super useful for customizability and also for just kind of expanding the universe of things that you don't have to write when you need to build an app. Okay, so those are the trees. We can talk about more of them, but I think that's kind of boring to most people. The included hook is called when the actual add-on is included in the build process. So when the build is started, we iterate through the list of add-ons and say, hey, you've been included in a new build. Do what you need to do. So this is where it might say, okay, well, append this jQuery plugin to the final vendor file, or things like that. And it will be able to access and build off of the trees returned in those other hooks, but it can do other things. It can make preprocessors available. Say, for example, you want to use CoffeeScript. Please don't, but if you do, add a preprocessor for CoffeeScript to enable it in the build pipeline. That is actually how CoffeeScript support comes into Ember CLI itself. So it's sort of dog feeding on that. The post-process tree hook is interesting in that oftentimes in a production environment, you want the production build to be minified and fingerprinted so that assets expire properly. The preprocess tree hook allows that to happen and basically just provides the final build output to this method, and the method can do whatever the heck it wants to with it. So right now, by default, it minifies and fingerprints the files, but you could do basically anything. All right, so there's a list of other hooks, and then I'll go through some other of the main components, and then we'll do a little bit of demo. As far as other hooks go, you've got config, which lets your add-on provide new configuration options to the consuming app. So say you are an authentication provider and you want to give some default values. You would actually be able to return that in the config. You can have blueprints. Blueprints are basically generators. So you want to say, Ember generate my thing, and it will spit out a bunch of files and do your processing for you. You can have post-build, which is similar in concept to post-process tree, but usually is used for things like, hey, my build, my build server needs the files copied to this directory or needs to be manipulated differently. So you'd use that. Included commands is a way to return new commands to extend Ember itself. So by default, Ember CLI has a slew of commands. I think there's like 10 or so internally. Things like Ember new or Ember generate. But included commands will let you add new commands to that list. So for example, you might want to say, I wrote an add-on that allows you to publish your your app to DivShot, which is like a CDN service. So I added a DivShot command. So you can say Ember DivShot push, and it's similar in concept to how you deploy a Heroku app. Things like that are possible. You can do a heck of a lot of stuff with the included commands. Server middleware is sort of a special one in that when Ember CLI boots in development mode, it starts like a running web server, so it can serve up the files, and you can refresh your browser and things like that to sort of emulate the final scenario. But you can have additional middlewares running in that stack. So maybe you want to. Brian wrote a thing that lets you hook in for tests, so you can get fixture data. So you can have like just random, seed data for your database, or buffer that seed data, things like that. So all right, so that's the hooks. Any questions on those? I haven't gotten any heckling yet, so I'm a little disappointed in you guys. So, good job. Good job.
Adding a new, suggest a new middleware hook. The testing middleware. I'm going to try to commit back external middleware be accepted into Testum. I know we discussed having Testum actually run the server side by side. I'm not convinced on that solution. So I think it'd be cleaner to have a separate Testum middleware hook.
Sounds fun.
That can be used. So
Should be possible.
I have to first
Convince them, yes.
Yeah, the testing guy to accept that.
Yeah. I think he'll accept almost anything that's well tested.
Well, he seems to take a while to
Yeah.
get things in
Yeah.
orders.
He's got a job, I'm sure, a job job. All right, so commands. I mentioned commands a minute ago. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on commands. Basically, commands have a bunch of properties. Name, description, those are kind of obvious. Name is just what you invoke. Description is a nice little pretty printed description, so you get, in the help output, you'll get your command description printed. Available options are for like flags. Say your command has like a -- dry run flag, for example, or a verbose flag to give more output. You would list it there. Anonymous options are for those things where you might take a name. So like if you're doing a generator, the name of the thing you're generating would be anonymous because it's not got a name value. Aliases just let you shorten the command itself. So instead of Ember server, you can say Ember S or something like that. And then there's this works thing, which basically lets you say if you're allowed to run the command outside of an existing project. Things like the new command are run outside the project because you're making a project. I think those are the only ones that do that. All right, so that's that. Getting through the boring stuff. Blueprints. Blueprints allow you to do before install, after install files, locals. Basically, the files list is just a list of the files that your blueprint will put in place. It'll replace the name of the file with the generated name that you specified. So if I say like Ember generate route foobar, it'll put a file on disk at routes foobar, and then also a template, and actually add a test as well for that. The test is kind of meaningless, but it's a place where you can start adding your test stuff. You also get this after install hook, which you can use to maybe add a package to the project, or add something to the Bower setup, or maybe inject the route into the router, things like that. Locals is pretty simple. It's basically just a list of the keys and values that you're going to replace when the files are copied. So if your file needs like placeholder information about what goes in there, oftentimes if you're generating a route, you'll want to use the route name that the person typed in the file itself, so that gets replaced in there. Yeah. So that's basically blueprints. Yay! Anybody have questions on blueprints?
After install, if you add another install, that causes
No. So in after install, you cannot invoke your. Well, you probably could. I guess you probably could do. You could do that, but that's not a good idea. So you can in after install you can invoke other generators, but if you invoked yourself, you would likely end up in an infinite loop. So, but it certainly is a thing that we want to be able to do, where you might run a blueprint that runs a few others, like it's like a blueprint runner sort of thing. So that's definitely a thing that is definitely supported, and I think there's a couple of internal blueprints that actually do that already. So that's totally a thing that we want to support. All right, so all the boring stuff is done. Let's make a thing. So let's make a new component, our new project. I'm going to say Ember add-on. It's going to generate us a new project structure, assuming NPM doesn't crap out on us.
Just as a tip, you should probably have one pre-generated to go to just in case.
Yeah.
I've
I don't know that I'll have Wi-Fi at that.
It's a Pivotal. I think they have Wi-Fi. They have a
Public. Okay. All right. So that gives us a folder structure. We can go into it. We don't really have any stuff in here. a little bit of test structure. Well, I guess a lot of stuff. So I'll run a server. I can open this up, and I can see, yay, welcome to Ember. This is basically meaningless. So, so let's. I'm going to make a generator. I'm going to run a generator to add a command or a component for us, notifying checkbox. So the idea here with this component or this add-on is that, say you want to have a checkbox on your form or on your page, and you want to get a notification when the thing is checked. Currently, believe it or not, in Ember, that is not exposed. It's pretty trivial to do, but seems like a thing that should be out there, right? So let's do that. By default, these guys output in the app folder. I'm just going to leave it there for now. That was annoying. All right, so I had written this a while back to prove to someone how simple it was. So this should basically work. How do we test it? So this is the add-ons repo, but obviously you still need to be able to test it. So Brian actually made it possible to have an app embedded in the dummy app, so that you can see your stuff. So I'm going to say notifying checkbox. Give it a name, and I don't know, a value. But you can't do a value. Shit. One second while I copy paste more stuff. Okay, so that should basically do it. I should be able to see my thing here if I start my server again. Oops, sorry. Very dark. So yeah, so it doesn't actually do anything, and I think I'm actually going to get an error in the console because I'm sending an action that's not handled. So first thing is we'll handle that action in the controller, which will be pretty simple. This is really bad, don't do this. Hey, current value. So that works, right? So obviously we want to be able to test the real nuts and bolts of things. So in this particular test, we can basically interact with the component and confirm that things work. We can write a test. I'm not going to do it right now. We can just write a test that when you check it, that the parent thing is notified, it sends action, all that stuff. So we can publish this guy to NPM pretty easily, just saying NPM publish, and everyone else can download it and consume this.
I want to show the package file because there's some stuff.
Yeah. So in the package JSON, this should be not that. So we have the.
Why is the name dummy?
Yeah, because it's dumb. Yeah.
Oh, no, you're inside the dummies package. You're not inside the module package.
I'm in the main package JSON.
That's not correct. And that should.
It is a bug.
Somebody changed that. I wrote it correct.
Sure you did. Sure you did, pal.
I know.
Probably me, because I made it inherit. It's probably me.
Yeah, I made it inherit from package JSON. Oh no, I didn't make it.
You had its own copy, and then I keep forgetting they're updated.
Yeah, so the package JSON should be overriding the name with the module
name. I didn't want to forget to fix it. All right, so yay, this is pretty simple. That makes sense. I mean, I just made a component. This is a regular Ember component. Yep.
Yeah, this is Ember add-on. Okay.
Yep. I injected it at the end, so I inherit from the main one, and I just augment the things I need, so that I don't have to maintain the list of packages in two places.
Are you parsing it and
yes.
adding onto it?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's why it's at the bottom.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yay. Let's make another one. One more, real quick. So basically, a thing that I often need to do is, I've had to do it a few times now, is show the current version of the Ember app that you're running. So in the browser, when, say, a QA people are looking at it or clients looking at it, they're going to say, hey, this thing is broken. And you're going to say, I just fixed that. What version are you running? And they're going to say, I don't freaking know. So there should be a way to do that. I'm going to call the damn thing. Yeah. I wrote a package a little bit ago called get repo version. Nope. Info. Nice error messages from NPM. Yay. So now all I need to do is from the config hook, this thing is called in the consuming app. I get the current environment and the applications config, and whatever I return is added and merged into the application config. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to require my custom thing. Then I'm going to say pretty sure that's right. Hold on. Just did this. Sorry. So this guy is going to then return this in the app's running config. I don't. Yeah. Yep. Copy paste errors, guys. I'm a pro. So now in this guy, I should be able to see this is a hack, just to make sure it's there. And there's the current version, right? So this is pulled in from the revision. Now, that's not exactly what I just said I was going to do. I said I was going to have it automatically just print it when the app boots. So let's do that.
Oh, there's a great Vim plugin for that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where's that? Who made that?
Some company called Dog Hair.
Oh, weird. And there it printed out to the console when it booted. So basically that's it. Let's ship it. And I'm going to say already getting it, right? Oh.
Our server.
No, it's private.
I fixed that too in my version.
Where?
In the package, it's something called a version, but in
Thank you guys. Almost done. I get a version number. All right, so now this thing is on NPM. I can install it, and it works. Should work. Damn it. Type. I can type right.
That's his version.
Damn it. Yeah. So you guys can use this today. Hey. That's as simple as it is. I know it was a lot of typing, but and some of the Git magic and stuff that I just have shortcuts for to create repos and things like that. But that's really all there is to it. So it is that simple to add, share, collaborate, which I think is pretty awesome and is going to lead to a whole new level of Ember apps that we can make. So that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Would make the last part smoother.
Yes. Yep. I would probably have a generated app. I probably wouldn't do it all by hand.
Yeah.
So I'd show the commands and then like run them in a separate thing and then come back to where I already had done it all.
Yep.
So. What's that?
It's like a cooking show. You take them through it. And
Exactly, exactly. It doesn't really take 2 seconds to cook a meatloaf, guys. So, all right.